Welcome to your podcast. I'm Lorena and I'm here with Natalie Adele. You flew in from LA
Yep, yesterday.
yesterday. Nice. This is the second time we've met.
Yep.
I learned from you just very, very, very recently from yesterday because I saw you playing at Guilt. And it was a really, really, really cool show. I enjoyed a lot that you did your choice of songs were very different than, than other people that have played at Guild. And not necessarily because it's like, odd music. I mean, but you played The Cure and you played Yeah Yeah Yeahs. So I was like, oh, like I haven't heard that in Guild. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Oh, awesome. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah. So what brought you to Vancouver?
The show last night. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, you mentioned yesterday, we talked a little bit about how you mentioned that you were new to music. And you said that you were like very, very new. So I really wanted to dig a little bit more about what you meant by new. Like, is it as in like you just started to get into the music scene, or as in you just started to learn music?
It's a really good question, and I'm so happy that I have a podcast to sort of like talk about the different layers of this answer, because I feel like I have I don't know, I'm still answering that for myself. The one answer is very new to the music scene. I have my first show was in December, so I haven't been playing music. I haven't been writing music. I haven't been trying to like be a musician person for very long at all.
Okay.
But of course, I think for every musician, this is probably true that I've been into music since before I can remember.
Okay.
So, and I took piano classes when I was little and just sort of like for fun. And when I was a senior in high school, my parents got me a guitar for Christmas, which I had not asked for. But I remember waking up that morning being like, I think they got me a guitar. And I had no idea why I thought that. And we'd never talked about it. And there it was.
Oh,
so
wow.
And then I was looking through photos with my mom the other day, old photos from like the last maybe 5 or 10 years. And I could see this guitar in my room. And I was sort of like playing a few chords, playing a few covers. But like it was just because it was fun to do. And, I would bring it to college and it would really relax me after class. And it was a very like personal thing that I would do. And I wasn't writing music at all. It was just this like slow burn of a relationship with the guitar. And then after college, I was working in television, got really lucky. I got like a dream job in supporting a writer's room on an HBO show. And that was very intense for a couple of years and was not really doing much of anything except that. And then that series ended and the pandemic hit, and it sort of like all just like the brakes came on like the career stuff like real fast and hard in all those different ways. And I fought that for a while and was like trying to like give myself a lot of work. Maybe I'll like write screenplays, or maybe to do this, or I don't know, but it's going to be writing and it's going to be internal and it's not anything to do with performing. But it was just so much harder than I expected it to be. And I don't even mean getting something off the ground. I just mean like my relationship with myself during that time period was like very adversarial.
Okay. As in like you were your own worst enemy, or
completely,
as in like, okay.
Completely. Like I was my own tyrannical boss, like for no reason. Like no one had assigned this. No one was waiting for it, but it was just, I don't know, sometimes the mind, it like creates these expectations of like what we need to do or who we need to be. And I was in that mode. So after a while of grinding, sort of being in that grinding energy, it was like, all right, something's got to give. So I put all of that down, just like basically fired myself, quit myself. We're not doing any of this anymore. And after a couple of weeks of walking around, like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what my talents are. I don't know anything. I started to hear music and I started to hear lyrics, and I had the guitar that had sort of been in the background, and I knew a couple chords, and I knew to move the capo around if I, to have it sound like what it was sounding like in my head. And after that, this was maybe May of last year, so about a year ago.
Oh my God.
And
that,
yep.
wow.
April, May. And it was like I would finish a song and I would start hearing another one. It was like, okay, this is very cool. This feels like the opposite of what it had felt like before. This feels like not being in a fight with myself. This feels like being in like a communion or in like a romance.
Yeah.
Is what it felt like. And I, every person I told it was like, you know, walking into a guitar shop that just happens to have, you know, like a jam session on Sunday in a town in LA that I had never really been to before. Just like magical kind of stuff like that started happening. And at that point I was just like, okay, just follow the things, just do the next thing.
Wow.
So that is the long answer.
Wow. But that, I was not expecting that. I thought like maybe you meant like you started, like you mentioned that you were new because like you just started to like look for gigs or something like that. But like, I mean, I guess when I saw you play, you feel and like seem very like natural on stage, you know, like, and you have this really like nice energy on stage. And that, I mean, I know it's not like Guilt is like the big stage, you know, but I mean, nerves can still get to you.
Oh yeah.
Like they can get to you like really quick. And I know there's also this other side of like being on stage and getting all this like hype and adrenaline and but still like you just seem like super chill, super calm. And I feel like that doesn't like that comes natural to you and I can tell. You know, like it's not something I would have thought you were not that new. Is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you. No, and I mean, yeah.
In the best way, of course. Yeah, like you just seem like, oh. So I guess it was meant to be then. And I do understand like that kind of being your own tyrannical boss. And I've done that to myself as well. And yeah, I also had a moment where I was like, I just need to quit and, you know, find out who I want to be.
Yeah.
When I grow up, even though I'm grown up, but you know, you're like, oh no, what do I do?
Totally.
So
is this
it
that?
was, yeah, like, yeah. And it seems for you, it might, yeah, it might be like, yeah, you were great. You were great on Guilt. Oh. And yeah, I don't know. I was, wow, like I'm amazed. You have a really nice voice as well. Like, how did you do any kind of like vocal, like, I don't know, like a different, not schedule, subjects that you would take like after school, like just for fun as well, or?
The school I went to, well, so I was born in Chicago and my family moved out to LA when I was like 7. So basically most of my life grew up in LA. And when they moved us, my parents, you know, very brave people, you know, no jobs, no house, didn't know where we were going to live, no friends, like nothing. But they knew it was time to go to LA. And so we lived in an apartment and they put us in a sort of like an artsy, like a little bit of like a hippie school. Okay. So it was all the arts and it was like, you know, including singing every day. And it wasn't very like technique based. It was just like, you know, get it in the kids' bodies, you know, painting and clay and knitting and all of that kind of stuff. So, nice. And when we came, we did a couple of visits and one of them, my mom and I came out to LA and we toured at different schools. And I wanted to go to like the preppy school where you like wear uniforms and it's very official. And like, I felt at home with those children. I was like, it's like work, like an office for school. Yeah. You know, and we went to this sort of like dirt school, as my friend calls them, like the hippie dirt school. And I was like, I'm not dressed for this. I was in like a long skirt and ballet flats and they were like hanging upside down from the monkey bars. And I felt like I don't belong here. Like I'm not cool here. And my mom was like, yeah, that's the one you're going to. It's like, well,
I'm gonna make you uncomfortable now. Like,
and I'm so glad that she knew and that I did go there because it was, you know, it was counter to who I thought I was. Even like the identities are so crazy that we have them when we're 7, you know. But I thought I was like this kind of person, and but no. So I'm so grateful that I got to I got to be the sort of like driven type A 7-year-old maniac in the context of a place that
is a lot more relaxed and
yeah
creative and
yeah. So there was singing, but as far as vocal, this is like a crazy tangent, but as far as the vocal training, I have not done any of that. And the truth is that my voice has changed in the past couple of years. I don't know how or why. It may have something to do with the fact that I started doing psychedelics in 2019 and is sort of like, I don't know. We just, I started taking them more frequently. Haven't for like about a year, which is nice to sort of like have the balance of like not doing them and in them. But one of the things I would do when I would take mushrooms is sing. And there was something different about my voice in that space. And when I stopped taking them, I still sort of like had that relationship with it.
So maybe it made make you like tap into that part of your vocal ability.
Yeah. And the relaxation part of it is, I feel like, a huge thing where it's like, you know, the tension isn't there and it's like there's just more room for whatever it is sonically to come through. So
wow.
became more fun. It's like a perfect storm.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. These are crazy stories. So why do you think your mom and dad wanted, like, they got you into piano lessons? This was when you already flew from Chicago to LA. And they just decided to, like, are they musicians or do you...
No, I mean, they're very artistic people, you know, both like brilliant writers, and you know, my mom has just this creative eye for like interior design and all kinds of stuff. It's just like everything she touches turns to beauty. And the wisdom of my dad is like, I could definitely talk about them for a while, but no, they... Are
you listening, Mom and Dad?
The first song that I wrote actually is, I usually don't tell this part of the story, but the first song I wrote was a year before like it really started, and I was writing a song for my mom for her birthday. And I don't know why I decided that was, I just started hearing this one that was for her, and it was, we just had like an incredibly difficult time, like interpersonally, all of us throughout the pandemic, and the only way I felt like the only gift that felt appropriate was this song. So I don't usually play it live, but I'm looking forward to maybe doing that soon. So my parents are clearly like the impetus for a lot of this, like musical, artistic stuff. So I don't know why the piano. I think...
like, do you have any relatives that are musicians or just...
Not that I know of. I mean, my mom's mom and her husband at the time, like they were definitely like, you know, sort of guitar, like folk, you know, like on stage theatrical people. So I think that's where that comes from. Yeah, but it's not like I grew up in a house full of guitars or anything, as I've been meeting people in the music scene, and I walk in and I'm like, oh my God, there's so many guitars, there's so many pianos. Like, this is so cool. You guys are the coolest people. Because that's not how I grew up, but yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's... there's been a few musicians that have been here on the podcast that, like very few, very, very few, that have not, you know, started, or that have not had, I don't know how to phrase this, like their family have been in the music scene, or they have music talents, or, you know, like there's very, very few people that just didn't have that around them and, you know, still somehow become amazing musicians. So yeah, I guess that's going to be your story.
I guess so.
Yeah. Like, wow, that's really cool. And so when you moved back, when you moved to LA and they bought you the piano, you mentioned it was just like also like, for fun, like not really getting into, like, I really want music to be part of my life. It was just like having fun.
Yeah, it was, you know, I had a keyboard that was on top of my dresser, and I would go to piano classes every day for years, you know, and I don't know why I guess when I was young in Chicago, I had like a lot of classes because it's very cold outside.
Yeah.
So it's like, it was like gymnastics and it was ballet and it was, piano and it was swim lessons. And like, I was like,
Everything that keeps you inside but active. Like,
Yep. And so when we moved to LA, it was like, all right, like you don't need all of these things and you're already running around outside a lot. So I guess it was like, pick the thing. And there was, a mom of a girl in my class who did piano lessons who was great. And so that was just the one that was like, this is the one that's continuing. And and I really liked it. And then, volleyball took over in middle school and high school and, so that kind of thing. So it just fell away.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have you ever, like, because I saw you playing at Guild with a guitar.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you started playing guitar in your senior year of high school, right? Yeah. But then have you ever switched back? Like, now that you're starting in music, like, are you trying to, like, go back to, like, maybe play keys? Or is it more like, oh, I don't know if I can still play?
I moved into my own apartment for the first time like maybe 6 weeks ago. And so we had like a storage unit of some stuff that was when my brother and I were like subletting. And so anyway, we had this storage unit with like my mattress and like a sideboard and the keyboard, like the old keyboard from when I was like 10 or whatever. Aww. This, Casio, I think it is. And so, so it's in my apartment now. And I have like started taking out like, old sheet music from when I was like a middle schooler, like pretty good, I'm realizing. and I'm like, wow, I cannot play this yet. But I want to get at least just to like, I don't know, just to be with the music in another way and like be able to sort of, because my theory on the guitar is terrible. I have a good friend who's teaching me who I'm very grateful for. But like to learn and to just expand and like see what else comes out. I'm super curious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And happy.
I bet you could probably pick it up pretty quickly. I mean, if you had classes like every day, it'll probably be just like riding a bike or something.
Yeah, I hope so.
I mean, I don't know. I don't play keys, but I guess.
Oh my gosh.
She never wants to be on my lap, but she just likes to be on the show. So yeah. I say hi. I forgot the most important part.
Right?
I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me, Sam. So yeah, we haven't even done any cheers. And then, so now that you're taking guitar classes.
Just not really, just.
Well, your friend's teaching you a little bit,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. How do you approach songwriting? Because you have originals.
Yeah.
You played one. You just played one original.
Oh no. I think
yesterday. Six originals.
6 originals and 6 covers yesterday.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm happy you couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I'm just a really bad listener. But I don't think so. I heard because you said like, oh, the first one you played was an original.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's when I started to look you up. And I was like, oh, I'm going to ask her to be on a podcast. Yeah, that was really cool. How did you wow, you have 6 originals and you just started in music. It's like, wow, it's crazy. I guess you have a lot of creativity. And now that you mentioned that you were also like a writer, what did you study? What were you studying?
Media studies and creative writing. Yep, in college.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
And did you have any kind of like musical subjects, like music writing, like
gosh, I might have
during
taken
your
writing for sure. I mean, I took, a poetry class and creative nonfiction, and I was really into into prose, writing sort of short stories and mostly nonfiction-ish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you integrate that into your like songwriting?
It's funny. When I was younger, I thought like I gotta write, novels, screenplays, stories, like books, something like I just had so many words, so I took one poetry class and I was like, this is going to be hard because like, this is no words. Like you get nothing to say anything. How do people do this? So short stories were even a stretch. But I think these days I just find it so freeing to be able to say more with less. and to not feel like I have to like explain myself. I wanted to explain myself to myself maybe back in college when I was writing, and sort of like get it right and have it be clear. And it was much more, I don't know, I just find the emotion of it coming through a little bit more in the music, and that the emotion of it that's what sort of feels more like photography, or like the image to me, and like you can convey a lot with that, and the words are almost extra.
Like the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Not necessarily all of the emotion that you're trying to like portray in a song. Wow.
Yeah. Or you just get, a phrase or an image, or I don't know, some things, and that says everything it needs to. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to describe.
Yeah, but I guess that makes sense. There is wait.
Oh, yes.
So cheers. For this mezcal. It's really great having you here.
It's really great to be here.
We do nice sips.
Nice. This is good.
Smoky. It's good, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a nice mezcal. We do sips, but you can take it all. Like if you want, like you can shot it.
I'm great with sipping. It's great.
So, when did you start? When you had this moment of like, okay, well, I need to fire myself. Like I need to not have this life and relationship with myself. And you started to listen to music, and you started to like, oh, right, like I actually like this. I enjoy this. When was the moment when you decided like, this is maybe something I really want to do? Was it something that was getting like, it was like bit by bit adding to that decision? Or was it more like you had one moment and, a friend of you just told you like, just go for it?
It absolutely bit by bit. And it's funny to sort of like see yourself over the months. It's like, oh, this was a little bit of like a kicking and screaming process, like not, but just dragging. And I remember a conversation that I had with my family in July. So I'd written maybe like 5 songs by that point. And so it's a pattern now, like you're doing this thing. And I was like, well, maybe I should just be a lyricist. And like, how would one go about doing that? And did like a little bit of poking around on the internet and didn't really find anything that felt viable. And I was like, well, maybe I can I'll record them and I'll put them on SoundCloud or something like that. And I'll see if anybody else wants to play them. And I think it was my mom, or we were having this conversation in the kitchen, and she was like, well, that like you don't have to always do it by yourself. Like you could have a band. Yeah. And you could have because I was very self-conscious about my guitar playing abilities, which were not very good. They're still not very good, but like I can do rhythm well enough that it's not distracting anymore. And then I was like at a 1 bar chord. I was like, forget it. Like I'm never getting on stage with a guitar ever. Like help.
You did pretty good yesterday.
Thank you. And it's really, God, it's been such a rewarding process. Like to see, like, if you do practice something, like, you can do it. But I don't know. I think I'm a little bit spoiled for sure, where it's like, if I can't do it immediately, sometimes I'm like, well, it must not be right.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe you just try it like 10 more times or like 100 even. So that was a turning point, realizing that there was a possibility for support. And then this Sunday jam session that I started going to in Hermosa Beach, which is like about an hour from where I live, it created a lot of confidence. I would get up there and it's this amazing guitar shop. This guy, Mike, has it. And it was the first place I played anything live for anybody that I'd written in like a group setting. And it's completely acoustic. And you sit on this stool in the room, and Sunday mornings, they call it church, and it really is. And I would just get up there many Sundays for a few months, and my leg would be shaking the entire time. And everybody there was so great. And, my voice was like, they would always be like, project, and I was like, just every, couple weeks or week, go back and like, just try to throw it further.
Musically praying for you. Like, it was really church. Yeah.
But it really, that taught me that I could do it. And then I put together a SoundCloud, and there were so many just like people and things, this guy, Travis, who lives in the community, was he, sat down with me and I was like, all right, if I wanted to do this, he's an engineer and a very talented guy who works on really cool projects. And I was like, if this was something, like, what would I even do? Like, say words to me that are music industry words, please.
Yeah.
And so he was sort of like, gave me the process. And one of the things he said was just, go out and find people and play and find people to collaborate with and play in public. And it was that very day after I met him that I was in Hermosa Beach and found Mike. So it was just like,
Wow.
The things came together. And then I guess the last and sort of like most like whoa thing is that there's a venue in LA that has showcases and is sort of like a cool, well-known venue called Hotel Cafe. And a woman that we're friends with in the community, I don't know like if I should be like saying people's names or not, or it doesn't matter. I don't think. Anyway, Jamie, I love you so much. You're my godmother. Like,
I don't know if she's. Like,
I don't like. I've
think
never
anyone,
been on a podcast, and nobody even cares anyway. But I'm just like,
I don't think she'd get offended. Like, you said my name on a podcast. Like,
for how grateful I am. Yeah. But I thought I was looking for an apartment at that time, and so she's in real estate, and we didn't end up getting this apartment for all kinds of reasons, which was a great thing. But I came with my guitar one day and she asked me about that. And I was like, well, I'm like just, learning and doing this stuff or whatever. She was like, send me your music and I'll hook you up with this guy who does showcases here. And so she forwarded it to him. And that was my first, like, you have a gig on this night. And it was, Monday night.
Nice.
Like a week before Christmas, and I was sweating getting ready for it.
Just like 5 months ago.
Yep. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was the how do you know that you can do this through line?
Wow.
by doing it.
By doing
basically
it. Yes.
by doing
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but that I guess it also says a lot about you. I mean, there's a lot of people that like even myself included, that when you talk about something or when they talk about something that they like, they're like, oh, I always wanted to do this and that. But, we just never get to do it. And then, yeah, that's what happens. You never know if you're actually going to be good at it or not.
Yeah.
But you just, you found out very recently and you were like, I'm just going to do it, and you did it, and yeah, like now here we are. Yeah. And this is just like the beginning for you, but it's pretty exciting. I mean, are you doing now with your originals? Are you trying to see if you can like record them and put them on Spotify?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the next step.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing, I guess, over the summer is, playing as much as I can, but mostly recording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what brought you to start playing like in Vancouver? Like, what was it that you were like, okay, I want to play in Vancouver? Like, are you still looking for gigs to play in Chicago or New York, or is it do you have something here that makes you come fly here and look for gigs here?
Good question. People are always like, yeah, wait, why are you in Vancouver? So, I mean, it just sort of a little bit by accident and a little bit on purpose. My brother and his girlfriend, this is back in February, they were booked this like Asia trip. They were like, we got to get out of LA. We quit our jobs, whatever, just let's go see stuff. They're a little bit younger than me and very cool. And I look up to them so much. So they were going to Asia for 6 weeks. And I was like, well, I want to go to a part of it. So the first stop was Japan. So I went to Japan with them, and it was cheaper for me, I thought, to fly through Vancouver, and it turned out to be Seattle, but I thought it was for Vancouver for a while. And so I was like, well, I'm going to be there. Like, I might as well see if I can play. I emailed venues in Japan too to see if they would have me play there, and nobody responded. But it was good practice.
Yeah,
it was very cool.
Yeah,
I
mean,
exactly.
Maybe they'll respond. Like, you're like, I'm not there anymore. But thank you.
But so I looked at Guilt, which seemed so cool, and then Water Street Cafe, and Guilt didn't have any availability. Until I was like, well, what about May? Do you have anything then? So he said yes. And so I put something in for May, and it was like, all right, I guess I'm making a trip for that. But then when I was flying back through Seattle, I took the train up to Vancouver. This is like in early March, and I played Water Street Cafe.
Yeah.
And I remember when I emailed, and I'm like pretty good at research, but apparently not that good at research. I'd emailed Water Street, and then when they responded and said, yeah, we can slot you in this day or this day, I agreed, and then I looked at actually like what it is, and it's 2 75-minute sets back to back. And at that point, I like
you're like, wow,
I'd
75
played
minutes.
half an hour at most.
So you're like, oh my God, this was in March.
This is in March, and I needed to be ready and have all of that, a 75-minute set locked in before we left for Japan so that I could fly, like touch down and then do that.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where it was just like you just decide, and then you realize you have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was awesome. It was awesome, and everybody was really sweet, and it was a great, like, small, fun show, and yeah.
Nice.
So that was why I was there then, and then now I'm here because Guild had a spot for me yesterday.
Yeah. And how did you prepare for that? Like were you playing every day to pull off a 75-minute?
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. I was playing, and really using what I'd learned being the tyrannical boss to, I mean, that's been sort of my biggest fear as soon as this has taken off. And like, I remember in those sort of like days of nothing, I would fall asleep and I would be like, I just, I don't need the best job in the world. I don't need, all of the money. I don't need a boyfriend for sure. I don't need, I'm open to it, but like, I don't need any of these things, like I just want to feel happy, creatively inspired, like that is it. And of course then you get creatively inspired after a while, and you're like, well, what would be cool would be to like book all these really great shows and like have these awesome outfits to go with it and whatever else. And maybe I do want to like a job to fund the music, obviously, and like a sweet apartment. With, like,
I do want to eat.
All these, but I was really grateful to have had that experience of grinding the fun out of it. Mm-hmm. So even when I was prepping for Water Street and just trying to better myself as a musician and actually doing an online vocal class that is like very much like warming in and really just like about relaxing the body. The Corin brothers are amazing. If anybody is interested, I will totally plug them. Doing all of these things, the main thing that I was aware of was if I do all the work and I hit all my chords correctly and I have, a more impressive set of covers and all of this, but like I am tight and stressed out and like I get up there, like that's not going to be fun for anybody. Yeah. Like it's not going to be fun for me. The audience isn't going to care. Like I don't want to bring that in. So it was like more than anything, how I try to prepare for everything is just like remembering that it's for fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which is, I guess it's easy to lose sight of once you start maybe getting into I have to do this. I have to do this gig. I have to do this other gig. I have to do this other gig. Oh, yeah. And you might probably hopefully not, and you can still keep this mindset for years to come, so you can always have fun and we can enjoy your music. Yeah. But yeah, I guess it could be easy to lose sight of when you're in that mode, right? Was your brother there at that gig? Was he?
He wasn't at Water Street because he was in Thailand by that point.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. So we went to Japan together. The first part. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But he was at the first show that I ever did, the Hotel Cafe one, where I just played 3 songs on Monday night, and it was the first one ever, and that was a moment. I mean, he hates it when I sing, like in the house, in the shower, whatever. Yeah, we lived together for a year, and before that, obviously grew up together, and he's just like, oh my God, he's so discerning, and he's so smart, and he has so much integrity. I mean, like this kid, it's like he will not bullshit you, like I'm trying to be like less nice and like more real, and he's like, he's just always been real. And I find that incredibly kind, which is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I get that.
yeah. So he came to the first show and he like wasn't really expecting very much. It was just sort of like, we're going to Natty's thing. But I remember seeing his face when I came off the stage out of the green room, and he was like, I get it. I get what you're doing. And he gave me this giant hug, and it was like, he said, Natty, you bodied it. You bodied it.
Aww.
Like, all right, this is
super
real.
Proud then.
If Zane says I can do it, then I can do it.
Oh yeah. So you're getting like you've been having these like nudges.
Yes.
You know, like like gentle, nice nudges.
No kidding.
She's like, "Can I hold your hand?" For you to do this, which is like, what are you doing? Oh, that's sweet. That's really sweet. Is it just you and your brother?
Yeah.
And what's he like telling you now that you're like trying to book more gigs, and is he like, yeah, go for it, like keep doing what you're doing?
Yeah, go for it. Record the music. It's time to record the music.
Yeah.
And I don't know. He doesn't, he's very like, I asked him, I was like, Zane, I'm going on a podcast today. Like, what do you think? He was like, just be yourself. Don't be weird. Don't interrupt the host and talk into the microphone. It's like, you know what? That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I need to talk to Zane as well.
Everybody.
I tend to interrupt people. Yeah. Wow. So I also wanted to ask you, like when you started to write these, you played 6 originals, but do you have more? Like, have you written more songs?
Yeah.
Like you mentioned you had one song like a long time ago that you wrote for your mom.
Yeah.
But have you written more?
So I think I have 12 good ones is what I'm calling them.
Okay.
Most of them are on SoundCloud. It's just sort of like where I put them. And then just like me in a closet with a guitar and like no editing at all.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like that's where they exist right now. But so that's what I'll pull from when I start recording. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And so how is that like process for you when you start to, now that you're writing your own songs, has it been like each song has been very different, like has had its own process of you writing it? Has it been more like oh no, I did start to get into like a routine, and so these last 3 songs or like 4 songs felt like really much more like my thing, like I just turn on, I don't know, whatever, this kind of music maybe that soothes me, and then I put, I get in my room and I don't know, like take mushrooms or whatever and sit down and write? Or is it like, no, it's been very random. I've written things on my phone, did voice notes to Zane maybe, like, hey, what do you think about this rhythm? Or like, how has that been?
Totally. It's a good question. So I would say it's a combination of, there's like some parts that feel familiar and some parts that I feel like they sort of need to be different every time. I feel like I almost need to trick myself into being creative, because it's sort of like it's like wherever the stuff comes from, wherever the magic or the inspiration or whatever it is, it's not where my mind goes looking for it, the mind is amazing and really wants to like solve a problem, but like writing a song isn't solving a problem, to me, because like there is no problem. It's just like it's
unless you make it one, maybe.
Right, which is to me what kills the fun. So, it's this sort of like, and maybe, I'm making it more complicated than it needs to be, but when the place where the music comes from, the place where the good words, where the feeling of something that feels true comes from, is like, to me, the place where everything is simple and everything makes sense and everything is true, even when it's sort of like is a little bit painful. It's like, it's just so itself. and in that way, it's not even really painful anymore because it's just like, oh,
It's
like,
familiar.
yeah, the thing is being seen as it is. And like, there's just nothing better than that. So what I've noticed helps with the songwriting process is getting quiet, getting sort of like as still and as relaxed as I can be. One time I had this experience where I was house sitting in a place in Malibu, and I'd been very stressed out about keeping this house intact for the 10 days that I was there, and Zane and his girlfriend came for a little bit, and I was just like an absolute monster about like the counters, like they just got polished and like all this stuff. Oh my God. And I was hoping that it was going to be this like miraculous like artistic getaway, like in this beautiful place, and it was incredibly beautiful, and it was so good for so many things.
You were very stressed about keeping it intact.
Yes, I was being ridiculous, and so on the last day I was like, oh God, like I thought I was gonna write all these songs when I was here. Like I haven't done anything. Like I wrote one really shitty one and sent it to my parents, like maybe it's not shitty, and they were like, no, it's shitty. I was like, yeah, thanks. And then so the last day I was there, I was like, everything was fine, everything was sane, like it was whatever. And then so I laid down outside just before I drove, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna get my body relaxed, and I'm just gonna focus on my heart center, and that's it. And I really hope I can write a song, and if it's not, then that's but like I think something wants to be heard right now. And so I just laid down and I just did that, and I started hearing lyrics. And of course, ever since then, I've been trying to replicate that. That doesn't work anymore. Now I need to do something else. Now I need to vacuum, or now I need to cook something, or now I need to be driving around, and I have, a notes app that's full of lyrics and pieces of things and things like that. So there are things that happen.
Yeah, you're drawing inspiration from different places.
Yeah.
But so for you, it comes first, like lyrics come first.
Lyrics come first, sometimes melody. Sometimes melody and lyrics, but usually the words.
Yeah.
Lead with the words, then the melody, and then the guitar. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who do you draw? Like, which are your like musical or music inspiration that from where you draw the most? From being just like clumsy. From whom you draw the most inspiration from?
I mean, I love metric. I love, the yeahs. I love like the Counting Crows. I mean, I remember I would listen to that with my dad so much this one summer when we were traveling a lot, and we would just listen to the Hard Candy album like over and over again. Grew up listening to, Norah Jones and Bonnie Raitt, and there was always music in the house. If there weren't like instruments, there was always music. And I don't know, Joss Stone being like very cool and sexy, and like for sure Lucinda Williams and the Indigo Girls, and wow. My dad loves John Prine. I mean, Bruce Springsteen for sure.
Yeah.
The Rolling Stones. I mean, it's just like,
the classics are always like,
for sure.
Like,
And then these days, I'm definitely like have a sort of like, if you looked at my Spotify Discover Weekly, it's like it's indie rock, it's indie pop. Love the Strokes when I was in high school. I just thought they were the coolest. They are very cool. Arctic Monkeys, and so it's like this sort of like a little bit of rock and a little bit of like sad girl vibes. Yeah. Phoebe Bridgers, of course, and Boy Genius is awesome. Yeah.
Nice. And like after going back to the whole like your creative process, once you do these like lyrics of from wherever you started to get inspiration from, you write it down in a notes app and on your notes on your phone, and then like what's your second step? Like, when do you make the decision, like, oh, okay, now I need to like sit down and really finish this idea. Like, this is just a phrase and I like it, but it's still just there. When do you realize like I need to develop this more so I can make it a song now?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to me, there's like, there are phrases, and then there's like, oh, like this feels like the center of something, like the idea, So I have this like, miscellaneous lyrics in Notes app, and then I have lyrics, just in notebooks here and notebooks there and whatever.
Miscellaneous folder.
Yeah, yeah. But the ones that I don't know, sometimes like there are the ones where it's like, oh, this one's gonna follow me around a little bit. This one has energy. This one is like, there's stuff inside it. It's like the only way I can sort of describe like a line or a phrase. And so I had a couple, maybe one or two of those in the Notes app. I think like maybe before we even left for the trip, or it was weeks and weeks ago. And I just hadn't had time to sort of like sit down and hear what was going on in it. And then, so after I was, moved into this apartment, and I, a couple shows had gone by, and I had space and time, basically. I was like, oh, it feels like it would be fun to write a song. Like, can I? Is there like enough, inspiration around? And I went back and looked at it, and I was like, oh, right. Like, these are good. Like, there's something good here.
Yeah.
And at that point, I don't know, it's the desire to really like have the focus to go in there and like channel the focus basically to see what's like what else is there. Okay. and then the time to do it. So I don't know, it's not very specific, but like that's basically what it was. And for that particular song, the last one I wrote, it's called Things That Disappear, and it was like, oh yeah, I remember this. There was an entire verse in the notes, and it was like, I can get into this vibe again. Like what else about that space and time? What else felt true about falling out of love for the first time or whatever it was. And then if you're lucky, then it just comes together, and then it's time to put the guitar to it, and then it's like, all right, great.
Nice.
Yeah.
But I guess it does make sense. I mean, I imagine. I mean, I'm not a songwriter, but I guess it like the closest thing to me would be like when you read something off a book, and you're reading this book and you're reading like going chapter through chapter, but then you get to this like maybe paragraph where you read it and you're like, whoa, it spoke to me. Like this paragraph really spoke to me, and you read it again and you're like, wow. Like I don't know if this is true for everyone, but like whenever if I'm reading something and something like I really like it, and I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe it's the combination of words, maybe it's the whole idea it's transmitting, or all of the above. But yeah, there's a moment when I'm like, oh, like, I really want to read this paragraph again, and then I almost want to like picture like really well the details, like draw the image of what I'm reading in my head, like super detailed, because I enjoyed it so much. Yeah. So I imagine it can be like something like that, like when you have these ideas that you just wrote down, and then you're suddenly going through them again, and you're like, oh wait, this one.
Yes.
So
yeah,
like
it's totally like that. It's a great way to say it. Yeah. It's
like it talks back to you
completely. It's like it's like getting a crush, or it's like like I want to spend more time with this person. I want to spend more time with this phrase. Like I want to draw it. I want to see what you sound like with music. I want to see what do you have to say about this thing that I have to say. Like it's like that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's a great. That's a very particular feeling. It's so cool. I wish I knew how to write songs. But yeah, I guess it's just like really cool, like creative processes that you go through. Processes, I don't know how do you pronounce that or whatever. And so now that you're doing these gigs here and there, what are you doing now in LA besides the church thing on Sundays?
Oh, right.
And so like, are you trying to book, are you busking? Are you, busking here and there? Or is it more like I'm trying to book gigs, doing just open mics? You're trying to look for I can actually tell you a little bit about open mics here. Cool. I know about one, so like maybe you can go and check it out today.
Definitely.
But yeah, like what's your plan in LA? Not a plan, but
for sure.
Are you looking to do something like strategically, or is it more like I'm just gonna do whatever comes my way?
It's been a little bit of both. I mean, so I've played 3 shows in LA since I got back from Vancouver the first time. And that's I mean, the truth is, I mean, I love to play I need the practice. I mean, you know, in the sense that it's like, it's new.
Yeah.
And I am enjoying it so much more than I thought I was going to. So I want to play shows. I want to play shows in LA. I have one, a really cool artist, booked me for one at the end of June. So I got that one in LA. And then I've got a showcase that I'm playing in Portland in July.
Nice.
So what I'm working on now is seeing if I can drive up and, you know, play some shows in Northern California and in Oregon, maybe on the way. That's like the dream plan. And then recording the music so that there's, you know, something out there.
Yeah.
And then just for fun. And then I did one session of busking, and it was like even more terrifying than being on stage in the best way. I was like, oh, I need to do this more. This is so freaky. Like, this is awful and amazing. And like, I made like $20, but like, I need to do it again. Like, so I want to do that again, just because it feels like, I don't know, just like a really awesome cross training. I like have so much admiration for the people who like get out there and do that on the street. They're just like, no one's here to see you, and it's just, so who cares? I'm here playing for fun. Like,
fuck you people if you don't want to listen to me. If you want to
keep
keep
walking.
Whatever. I'm not holding you back. But if you're staying here to listen to me, then thank you. Like, I appreciate your $2 or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the plan. Practice, play as many shows as people will have me for, and record the music, and
Cool. And how are you going to, like, so you mentioned you had 12 like good songs that you want to really get to like recording.
Yeah.
Are they related to each other? Do you want to do it like a concept kind of storytelling, song recording, or is it more like they're independent? They're like their own thing.
No, yeah, great question. It's I mean, I guess one of the things that
because you're a storyteller, so maybe I mean I don't know, but like, does your mind like immediately drive you to go to like, I really want to tell a story with these 12 songs? Or
yeah, I mean, if I got to record all of them and put them out as a 12 song like that, I feel like it's like almost ahead of where I'm at. But of course, at the same like.
Or 8, even if it's 6 or 5, or like
it definitely feels like there's a theme in the music for sure, and you know, a lot of it is like both the romance of being in love, but also like the romance of falling out of love, and like a lot of the songs are breakup songs, but in a way that is, I don't know.
Sad girl vibe.
Sad girl vibe for sure. And one of the things that I feel like is something that I've been working on from so many angles, from, you know, as early as my first breakup when I was, you know, 18 years old, is like, does the ending have to be sad? Mm-hmm. Do we have to hate each other to leave each other? Can we love each other more in the separation? Mm-hmm. And I've always found it there to be a lot of love in the ending. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely that theme in there. You know, there's this theme of like, you know, so much gratitude for all of the men who I've had in my life and, you know, been romantic with, and just wanting to, I guess, you know, wanting to like honor that, or have some way of like expressing it. I know that I can be a very reserved is the word that's been used. Like, I'm not, you know, I feel like I'm like showering you with love. Like, are you not getting it? And it's like, no. Like, literally, like, you know, I kind of can't tell if you like me or not. It's like, oh, okay.
Really?
Like, I don't know. So there's a little bit of
And you see yourself with like heart-shaped like eyes, and you're like, really? You can't tell? And
I'm being like, ridiculous. Nope. Yeah. They're like, you're very Daria. Composed.
You're Daria. Like, no.
So there's definitely that, just like, I don't know, how much love can there be, and how much can we have it even even in the now of not being together. So yeah, love and time is what I love to work with right now, just like the sort of two themes, I guess. So I don't know if it's an album, if it's an EP, if it's what goes first and single, like all of that. I don't have a strategy for it.
Yeah.
But that is what sort of like this first movement feels like, and I'm curious to see it's like what songs come next. Are they going to be also in that theme, or are we sort of winding that down and we're going to do something else? I don't know. You know, some fun collaborations with some artists that I really admire that are definitely in the sort of like breakup romance world. So that's cool to be doing that. And yeah.
Who do you want to collaborate with?
Well, I mean, I'm collaborating with a couple people right now. You know, a cool hip hop artist named Tsunami, and then another really awesome, you know, really great lyrics. David Schuyler is also a hip hop artist, and he does acoustic. And Tsunami's a producer. He does cool instrumental, like really talented in that area. And then a woman named Kat Sophia, who's who we just have like a good sort of like bedroom pop, like sad girl, but like not too sad kind of
nice
thing going. So that's been really fun. I've been was holding myself apart for a while. Like, all right, like I don't even know if I'm doing this, so I can't like, you know, not know if I'm doing it with other people like that, you know. And now it's like, oh, okay, all right, we're opening up the doors. Like maybe it's okay. Like we can work together. So I've felt really lucky actually to, you know, be open to that, and then to have people that I really love to work with like come in and want to work with me.
Yeah, totally. So like when you're working with people that also do lyrics, is it like, do you sit down with them and start like, okay, let's just brainstorm, or has it been more like, so this is what I have, and like workshop your own song with them?
You know, it's been 3 completely different processes, which has been so cool because it's like, how do you do this? How does collaboration work? And how do I like to collaborate? It's like, good question. So Tsunami and I, he wrote the instrumental first, which was a completely different process for me because I'm usually so words first, you know, but I heard the music before and I was like, okay, this is kind of like what it makes me think of. And he was like, yeah, I'm feeling that too. You know, so then he was on the other side of the world. I think he was in like Switzerland when we started writing the lyrics. So that was a notes app collaboration in the truest sense of the word.
So is it like in Zoom, like, or
phone calls, FaceTime, texting, and notes, you know, like what do you think of this verse, whatever, you know, like
cool.
and voice memos for sure, you know, so like how would that sound if we were to do those words?
Nice.
Yeah. So that was that. And with Kat, I had, you know, maybe a verse and a piece of a chorus, and she was like, yeah, let's do that. And so she wrote, you know, her verse and a bridge, and we finished the chorus together, and that was a pretty natural process. And then with David, it's 3 such different ways of doing things. I just feel so lucky. I wrote like most of the song, the Things That Disappear song, and has done this with, you know, like with covers or with his own. He's just great at like taking what you have and then like writing verses to go with it. So there'll be 2 versions of that song, and we're actually going to record ours Thursday. And I'm really excited about the stuff that he brought to it, just like the masculine point of view in like what can be sort of a very like, I don't know, it's when you're going through a breakup, there's this thing of like, the person that I want to talk to about this is the person that I can't talk to about this because we're breaking up. So this thing of like being able to write these songs with these guys has been so cool on this level of like, oh wow, it's like I'm getting to make something with the other point of view in this, which is what I had been craving but knew I couldn't have to like in order to move on. So
an indirect closure.
Completely. I'm like, wow, like, yeah, this is how it feels to be a man on the side of this. And like getting to make art out of that is just like, oh, okay, I'm done. This is amazing.
Nice.
Not I'm done more, please, but you know what I mean?
But like, okay, I feel good with this right now. Like for the time being, I'm pretty good.
Yeah. So that's so those are three different processes, and each of them is has their pros and cons and is sort of like a good workout in different ways. And so
Okay.
Yep.
And so with the song Things That Disappear, what was your like your mind process through that song? Did you also write like just a phrase of that, or was that song more of I wrote a whole idea, it was a whole thing by itself by the time I wrote it down, and then I almost immediately started to do the whole song?
That was actually the one that had pieces of it had been in the notes for weeks, just sort of sitting there. And, and it was sort of like I had maybe 2 or 4 lines, just like a little thing that maybe could be half a verse or something, about the semester that I lived in suburban Baltimore with my mom as a senior in high school, because she was working out of town and I went with her, and that was, had just gone through this like summer romance, first boyfriend ever, fell very, very deeply in love. And then, he was going to college and I was going to Baltimore. So we, called it quits for a while. And so it was just, in this brand new, literally like it was a house that had just been built in this little cul-de-sac, like a, just new, literally was not on the maps. Like I would send my friends the address for this place and it didn't exist because nobody knew. It was, that's how new this was. And and it was just, I don't know, it was
I want her to get down. Sorry. I'm just like, my leg is cramping. Sorry. So yeah, it didn't really show on the maps.
Yeah. So that was where I was. And, having like, I don't know, you have these moments in your life where it's like, I'm going through a thing and it feels very personal to me, and it feels very like emotional to me. And then at the same time, like I have this awareness where it's like, this is a very archetypal thing. This is a very normal, like
everyone goes through this.
Everyone, especially when they're 17, and especially when you had your first.
It's a cliche. Damn it! Like
it is. You just gotta milk it because it's or you don't gotta do anything. But like it's. So just having I'm crying my eyes out, staring out the window in this new city, and I don't know anybody, and it's very gray and it's very suburban. There's nothing happening here, and like I don't know what, whatever. And I miss him so much, but like also like I know that this will end eventually, and it is ending, and all of that. So that was. I wrote a verse about, that house, the walls so white, they're not on the maps yet. And it feels like witness protection or whatever the lyrics are. And there was that. And then there was, some other stuff that hasn't turned into anything. And then there was just later a line, I like things that disappear. And I was looking back through my notes and I was like, oh, you guys go together. This is this song. Okay. David, get in here. You write yours, whatever.
You should meet each other.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Nice. I totally get that. Having that kind of like, well, of course. I mean, as you mentioned, everyone goes through that. Everyone goes through those feelings, and I don't know. You feel like now when you look back at it, you're like, I was so dumb. Like, but I mean, everyone goes through that. Everyone feels that 17 when you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me and whatever. And then, you grow older and you're like, meh, really? But it's also nice to remember those feelings, tap into that, and, make something creative out of it, milk it, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Because it is, I guess, a way of like processing emotions in general. How, they say, or I don't know if it's, I think it might be true or not. I'm not the expert, but when you dream things in general, like a lot of the dreams are just to like process certain emotions that you can't really when you're conscious, right? So I guess songwriting is probably sort of like dreaming as well, like processing something but in a conscious way, processing things that you can't really do it when you're in that moment of like anguish and stress or whatever.
No, that makes that songwriting and dreaming that makes complete sense to me. Totally.
So you have I would like to really have people check you out because they really should. It's so nice to be your first podcast where you're at. I'm sure it won't be the first one or your last one. The first one, of course. It won't be your last one. But I really hope you can really. I'm excited to know like when you're gonna release your songs, and I'll be one of the first people to check them out.
Oh, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. This has been really fun.
This was really fun. Yeah. I'm happy you were here. I'm happy you said I really got a chance to have you here before you left back or you went back to LA.
Yeah.
So anything you want to maybe have people check you out on your social media?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and I'm on SoundCloud, and soon I'll be on the streaming platforms.
Yeah.
And yeah, for now, it's just, catch me in Portland or wherever.
Yeah.
Just
so
grateful to be here.
yeah. Natalie Adele, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers.
Cheers.